Hello, you're watching The Debate. I'm your host Rafae Iqbal, and in today's show we'll be talking about the terror attacks in Balochistan. In that regards, on the night of 25th and 26th of August 2024, the terrorists attempted to conduct numerous terrorist activities in Balochistan. The security forces responded effectively and dispatched 21 terrorists to hell. 14 personnel of the armed forces also embraced martyrdom. The attack was carried out in Musakhel, Kalat and Lasbela districts of Balochistan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and President Asif Ali Zardari, they condemned the attacks and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice. In that regard, the President Asif Ali Zardari also said that those who kill one human being are equivalent to killing the whole of humanity, and said that the perpetrators, the attackers and the facilitators will be brought to justice. And the Prime Minister also said similar in his statement. In regards to that, the Interior Minister Rafae also vowed to bring forward the facts along with evidence after investigation. Earlier in the country, Operation Azm-e-Istehkam was launched as a counter-terrorism measure by the Pakistan military and civilian leadership. And of course, this operation was launched to curb the nefarious designs of the enemy, as these terror attacks are ruining the security environment of the country, and economic revival efforts are also being undertaken by the government. And such terror attacks, they disrupt the peace and stability of the country, of the region, and of course in proportion also affect the business environment of the country, especially at times when there's so much going on, when there's so much efforts for increasing the country's foreign direct investment, and when there's so many efforts being put in for economic revival of the country. We'll be discussing the different aspects of these terror attacks that have occurred in Balochistan, and of course how the security forces responded effectively and thwarted the nefarious designs of the enemy. To talk more, we'll be discussing the different aspects. In the studios, we've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi. Along with that, we've been joined by geopolitical analyst Faisal. And on Skype, we've been joined by Brigadier retired Nawaz, who is a senior analyst, and Shahid Rin, spokesperson for the Balochistan government. I'd like to thank you all for your time and being part of the conversation. Starting off with Brigadier Nawaz. I'd like to ask you, sir, with the attacks in Balochistan, how do you comment on the implications of these attacks regarding the security environment in the country, especially with the ongoing efforts for economic revival? And how would you term these attacks having any implications on Operation Azm-e-Istehkam that was launched earlier?
You see, the point is, we must remember, it is very unfortunate. But then we must appreciate our all security forces, the way they responded, very timely professional action. They encircled them, killed 21 terrorists, and still operation is going on. And we lost, of course, 10 military soldiers and 4 Salam forces. That's part of the game. When you go for operation, these things happens. But I think overall result, what we wanted, we have achieved. Now, the important thing is why this all is happening. And then who is responsible? All those who do not want development and well-being in Balochistan, they have joined all these foreign elements. And I will talk openly like Maran Baloch and his associates, our associates, who are doing all this. And the government has decided all the instigators, perpetrators, then of course all terrorists, they will not be spared by the Pakistan armed forces and even government of Pakistan. Then third is that this was a very timely action. Otherwise, things would have been much, much worse, which I think they were reverted with timely action. And then we must now ensure that who all are behind it. Less living foreign forces, they are there, but then there are people in Balochistan who are with them. And them we call investigators and perpetrators, and they are that all instigators, they need to be sorted out. And then why Maureen Baloch, when something happens with missing persons, she goes and in Gwadar, and she has a dharna and everything coming. Has she raised any voice? Know what is happening with the Balochis? And they've all gone for soft targets. They didn't go for military hard targets. Then why she's not speaking? That means they are also part of terrorist organization, because they are all having the same agenda to create problems in Balochistan, disturbance in Balochistan, harassment in Balochistan, and don't let that economic activity which we want to do through CPAC. That's the main target. Because please do remember, Pakistan is a nuclear country, Pakistan is an Islamic country, then we have a large fighting army. Our geostrategic location is absolutely fine and very good. And if we do economic prosperity through CPEC and operational in Gwadar port means we will take our decision in our own national interest and will be out of the control of IMF World Bank. That is the thing that our enemy India and so many other hostile intelligences don't want it. We have to see, and one chief minister of Punjab, Balochistan said very categorically, all those Balochis who are taking law in their hands and they join these organizations, they're doing terrorist activity, they're all terrorists. We don't call them Nawaz, Balochi, and so on and so on, because they are the political people who are had some reservations. And I feel government of Pakistan must go federal government to Balochistan and redress their grievances. All political parties who are nationalist parties, their all point of view should be addressed, and if it is genuine, then the socio-economical problem, development is to be done, and when we want to go for development, then these strategic activities they start happening, and then we can't do it because they don't want Britain should be prospering. People should be happy because that is the one pronged strategy. We have to ensure that Blochi people are really financially better off. They're given all opportunities which every other province is having. That is what they claim and they blame for this. So find a solution. Then we have to go and talk to Americans and Chinese that they're giving a lot of money to one a national interim government. Why they're giving them? Then if their money is coming, then they don't bother because then they are not pushed what is happening. But Pakistan has grievances against one interim government. We want only one thing from them. Don't let your land be utilized by any other terrorist organization. That is a committed in Doha agreement. They're not fully for that. So we have to go for 3, 4 pronged strategies. Operation must continue with more resilience, with a unity of force, and the whole nation should be supporting armed forces. That has to be continuing with more force, and the way we talk as the calm, that has to be carried out with more weapons equipment, more technology, more diving devices, forensic things. Financial terrorism has to be stopped. All this to be done, but relief, negotiation with political parties must be done, not with terrorists. And Morangloj, I think she needs to be booked now. And she should book for these ongoing terrorist activity, instigating people, right? For that, she should be, I think, charged, and that the Palestinian government has to take action against her. But before that, redress. People should be understanding what the federal government wants to give relief to Balochi people, which we are not doing so far. So redress the grievances, then go for moral blows and redress political parties if they have any differences. But keep fighting. Don't leave them any respite as a terrorist are concerned, for which the whole nation should be fighting this.
Have a spokesperson from the Balochistan government with us as well. Shahid Rind, I'd like your comment as well, especially in line with the statement by the Chief Minister Balochistan, Mir Sarfaraz Bugti, as he was addressing a press conference earlier, and he said the writ of the state will be established using kinetic or non-kinetic means, and that the terrorists will not be allowed to impose their views out of a barrel of gun. How do you comment on that? Shahid Rind, are you with us? Well, I will try to connect with him as well. But Raja Faisal, how would you comment on the attacks that were perpetrated, the effective response by the security forces, and how they're disrupting the peace and security environment of the province, not only, but in the country and in the region at large as well?
Yeah, but Rafae, when we look at the yesterday's, last night's events, I mean, one thing is clear, which is obviously, can be derived from this, that clarity is there now. Earlier you have actually highlighted Mir Sarfaraz Bugti's statement, and I actually went through his whole statement, and in which I actually really liked that statement when he said that it is not the case of, people of one province fighting with the other province, people of other province. It is entirely related to terrorists obviously carrying out their heinous activities against people of Pakistan, be them people Baloch or Punjabi or Pashtun or Sindhis, they are Pakistanis first. And this is how it should be treated. And when I obviously say that the statement is so powerful by CM Mir Sarfraz Bugti that it should be implemented, of course, throughout Pakistan, and all of the sympathizers, as Brigadier Haris has rightly pointed out earlier, that people like Marang Baloch and people like all of the students who are sympathizers of these terrorists, they consider them as if they are fighting a liberation movement or liberation army. That is, it is nothing to do with the liberation. It is entirely to attract money from the enemy states of Pakistan, and when that money is in their hands, of course, with that facilitation and with that monetization, what they do is they carry out these activities in Pakistan to disrupt peace of Balochistan and to disrupt peace of Pakistan. And of course, they portray it as if there is a fight going on in between the provinces of Pakistan. This is not the case at all. And all of these sympathizers, of course, this is the time that they need to take into task. This is another APS attack like situation right now for Pakistan. Right after APS attack, we saw that the nation at large, they of course came together and fought against the terrorism. And this is another crossroads where we are seeing the similar situation in which, of course, the terrorists, they carried out their activities in Balochistan. This shouldn't be considered as activities in Balochistan. They should be considered as activities in whole Pakistan, because the whole Pakistan should come together to fight against this menace. And all of these sympathizers, very first thing that needs to be done is take them into custody, take them into task, and of course, these are sympathizers, and these sympathizers are the very first people that needs to be, of course, picked up and presented in front of the law. And I believe this must be done. And the second thing which I wanted to highlight here related to very episode of the these terrorists. So far the reports which are reaching to me, majority of the weapons which are being recovered from these terrorists, they are the American weapons. And American weapons, we all know that the biggest caches of American weapons, they were of course discovered by Taliban themselves. And if they were being discovered in Afghanistan and now ending up in the hands of all of these terrorists, be they BLA, BLF or TTP, this is a huge question mark on the role of Taliban, Afghan Taliban, and that needs to be questioned from across the border as well. And whoever is involved in this, of course, they need to be taken to the task. And to me, I think these are the steps which needs to be taken forward. And when it comes to, of course, the security forces, they have been relentlessly working hard to make sure that Pakistan is secure. It's not about one province, it's not about one district, it's about the whole Pakistan we're talking about. And I think we salute the security personnel who laid their lives for the safeguarding Pakistan, and we must appreciate that the intelligence services that are out there working 24/7 to make sure that Pakistan is safe.
Well, definitely, of course, all those in the security forces of the country who are protecting the motherland, they are to be saluted, and of course how they are protecting the nation, the borders, and putting in everything they've got to keep the nation safe. Pitafi, I'd also like your comment on it, and especially considering that just in the recent past there was also an incident where our security forces neutralized militants as they were trying to cross from the Afghan side into Pakistan, and it happened at the border. Do you think cross-border movements are also playing a crucial role, and how they need to be monitored more strictly, considering the viewpoint that Raja Faisal just presented?
Thank you very much, Rafae, for helping me out actually by adding, this question so that I can actually look at the whole spectrum, the full spectrum as well. Look, I'm an old school journalist, so the first question that comes to my mind is 4 W's and 1 H, right? What, when, where, by whom, and of course how. So the first thing that you know is that all these attacks, the responsibility was taken by, accepted by BLA. And we know that there is a subgroup of BLA which is called Majid Brigade, which is primarily responsible. They are essentially the suicide bombing squad of BLA itself, right? And then lies something else as well, and I'm going to point that out as well in a bit. But first of all, you have to look at the date that they have chosen. So it is, Akbar Bukhti's death anniversary. So there was a possibility that this is going to happen. And of course, the kind of vigilance that we have seen is kind of unprecedented of late. It used to happen back in 2010, 11, but after that, things actually would stop and then would continue. Now, Majid Brigade usually attacks interest wherever there is any kind of economic activity or opportunity. And we have seen that between 2011 and 2018, they were dormant for one very simple reason, because they did not have the kind of funds that were needed. So the first question would be, where does the money come from, right? And that is a very important thing, because in the past we were told, especially before we actually took care of the FATF concerns, that Hundi Hawala might be used by the diaspora, Baloch diaspora, who might be financing all of this. So that bit has been stopped, right? But we have two very long borders and one historic hostility or a rivalry as well. Now, we know that we share a long border. Balochistan shares a long border with Iran, and it also shares a long border with Afghanistan. But where does the actual hostility lie? And Pakistan has released dossiers in the past linking TTP's activities and also BLA's or Balochistan related terrorist groups activities with one source, and that is India. How would India actually finance everybody? Of course, Iran, we know that Mubarak Patel episode, right? Kulbhushan Yadav also is there, and that is also a possibility, but usually whatever comes from Afghanistan. Now, this is the time when you have to broaden the horizon and look at the entire country right now. What is happening elsewhere? You just mentioned the border skirmishes, and that also inflicted some pain on us, and of course Pakistan countered. But in addition to that, there were other things that all of a sudden are happening. For example, Kacha dacoits, right? They also have very modern technology, and they are using it, RPGs and whatnot. Similarly, we saw, and by the way, today was also Chelm of Hazrat Ali, and that is also a big issue here, because in Karachi also we saw there was an attempt to actually create a kind of sectarian violence situation. So everywhere you look, there seems to be, this explosion of activities. And of course, if all of this this is connected with one source, and that is India, that would mean two things. That would mean that Afghan Taliban and Indian government are somehow in cahoots, because they are allowing their land to be used against Pakistan. But that is not all. There are a couple of other aspects too. For example, 2 days ago, Narendra Modi, when he was coming back from Ukraine, crossed Pakistan's airspace. It was thought to be a gesture of goodwill by Pakistan. And then we saw that Pakistan extended an SCO invite to Narendra Modi. But amazingly, every time there is a speculation in the air about possibility of some kind of thaw between Pakistan and India, this kind of activity start in Pakistan. That would mean that at least in the underbelly of Indian intelligence, there are elements who don't want that to happen, right? And we can't even trust Narendra Modi. He might also be actually trying to find an excuse to get out of all these activities. So what we are seeing at this moment seems a combination of what the old school strategists used to call, death by a thousand cuts, and then what Ajit Doval calls, defensive offense. So there seems to be, unfortunately, because defensive offense was a doctrine that was framed around the possibility of provocation and then a response, there doesn't seem to be a provocation, right? Pakistan is not involved in any kind of activities in India. So what that would mean is hatred. And that actually worries me. How can anybody, because what happened in Musa Khel was heart-wrenching. Common people, I mean extremely poor people.
Innocent people.
They are traveling on a bus and they are actually asked to dismount and then they are slain in broad daylight, right? This is the kind of hate that is unacceptable. So what Brigadier Sahab was saying, that negotiate with the political side or at least take care of the concerns of the locals, that comes later. First of all, what Balochistan government and the federal government need to do is ask for, at least Balochistan government should ask for a bigger mandate, and then they should actually go for a total, a broad scale operation to take care of all these matters. The total strength of the Majid Brigade cannot be more than 100 to 150 people. The total scale of BLA is not more than 1,000 people or 1,500 maximum, right? So it shouldn't be that big a problem. The only problem is the terrain, because Balochistan constitutes somewhere around 44% of Pakistan. If you include the coastal belt, then it goes beyond 50%. It becomes very difficult to actually operate in that terrain, especially against the locals. But I think that is where your resolve will come. Be offensive rather than defensive now.
Right. In line of that, Brigadier Haris Nawaz, how would you comment on the issue of terrorism in the regional context? Do you think concerted effort by the regional players should also be included, as this menace is not just affecting one country but the entire region at large, as there's a lot of focus on regional connectivity at the moment, especially with the Central Asian states?
And Brigadier Haris, if you can allow me as well, I have been extensively following whatever is going on in Ukraine. And if we talk about the Ukraine, of course, kamikaze drones are being used to, of course, inflict heavy losses for the opposite army. And we have been seeing from both sides, from Russian sides and Ukraine sides as well. Don't you think that this is the time that we have to introduce the right technology on the basis of these smaller level attacks which needs to be carried out? And these kamikaze drones, they are actually an excellent idea.
In Afghanistan or where?
Within Balochistan, wherever they are based, within Balochistan. So what we can do is, of course, these kamikaze drones, they hardly, they range from $700 to $800, and of course, with that, the right size of the explosives, they can be used. And of course, these things, they need to be included in the counterinsurgency as well right now.
You see, Faisal, the point is, if you talk about drones using across the border against in Afghanistan, where the TTP and then of course the Daesh and BLA, BLF concentration training camps ammunition terms, yes, they should be treated, and Pakistan give warning to one interim government, and that we have already won. But I think we should send delegation, make them realize this is enough is enough, and now we are going to do for this. But as far as our Balochistan issues concerned, you see the problem is these technologies, they have a collateral damage. And the people of Balochistan, they belong to Pakistan. We have to be very careful. First, we must carry out all kinetic operations, must sort them out, must show it of the government using all means, and with the people of Pakistan standing behind the armed forces and government providing all the resources which we need to have an edge over these, because they have all Americans made weapons, equipment, night vision devices, for which we have to be very careful. The second question is about the regional problem. Yes, I do agree. We must take confidence about the regional countries, all Central Asian countries, China, Pakistan, Iran, even I would say Russia, because the whole economic hub is Afghanistan. If Afghanistan is peaceful, means we can have our CPEC completed, Gwadar port is operationalized, and then the whole of traffic from China, Kashgar to Gwadar, Central Asia, Russia, and also going through Afghanistan to Gwadar port, and then the whole market of Middle East and African countries available, and Pakistan to a lot of economic benefit. And that is the basic factor why we are facing all this terrorism, because Indians, they are being used as proxy by Americans and so many other countries, that they don't want Pakistan to be economically prosper. Kulbhushan Yadav, which we talked about, Mubarak, and so many other things are clearly, and Indians did the war said that we will Balochistan be peaceful. We want Balochistan as be troublesome, and those said Pakistan does not have this economic prosperity. So we can ask for the all interior ministers or security experts of the regional countries, they're coming to Pakistan, and we have a conference and we discuss and make a joint strategy how we have to deal with Afghanistan. Particularly, I face that China is the most important ally. They want peace in Balochistan, but they keep funding, providing a lot of money through mines and minerals to Afghan government, and then they are using it to become stabilized. Not only that, but if they are stable, then they don't bother what is other hostile terrorist organizations are doing in Pakistan and creating provision in Balochistan. So this is the issue. We have to be very clear. We have to be focused what we want to achieve. And a foreign office, security operations, and also to provide a relief package and negotiate with the political parties, not with terrorist organizations, only political parties, so that they can use their influence on these terrorists, and then they can brought back to the mainstream. So that should be strategy Pakistan should be following, I think.
In light of that, Raja Faisal, when we talk about seeing the issue in a regional situation, you've been talking about the ISKP as well, and how much of a threat it can prove to not only to the region or one country, but to the entire world at large. In light of that, what role do you think the international community or the allies of Pakistan can take in supporting the counter-terrorism measures that Pakistan has been undertaken, and of course in the context of regional stability and global stability, because we are seeing two very major conflicts that are already ongoing in the world?
Yeah, Rafae, if we talk about Pakistan seeking support in terms of fighting against the terrorism and a menace like ISIS Khorasan, and we know that ISIS Khorasan itself was carrying out different activities within Pakistan, especially against the CPAC, and of course within KPK and within elsewhere in Pakistan, they have been doing that. But when it comes to Pakistan seeking help or assistance or tech transfers from the Western countries, Pakistan has time and again highlighted this issue that ISIS Khorasan should be considered as a backyard of ISIS itself. And ISIS is of course against the Western countries. And if we say that time is not far, that these three provinces which we kept on highlighting time and again, Nuristan, Nangarhar, Kunar province, where all of these sanctuaries of ISIS Khorasan, they are catering not only BLA, BLF, they are catering TTP as well, they are catering IMU, ETIM, all of them, they are being catered by ISIS Khorasan out there. Time is not far when once more their own their own citizens from the Western countries, they will be getting to Afghanistan to get trained once more and to do 7/7 bombings and 9/11 bombings once more, and that's when they'll wake up. Pakistan has time and again highlighted that this is a ticking bomb for not only for Pakistan but throughout the world. It needs attention from the world itself. You know, ISIS Khorasan, then it is going to be a trouble very soon. So before that becomes a monster, it needs to be taken care of. Pakistan is doing what is required. Pakistan is fighting against ISIS Khorasan, knowing the fact that Pakistan is immediately affected by it. And I think that is why, you know, in past we have been highlighting again and again that the fresh government of or regime of Taliban, Afghan Taliban sitting in Kabul, even they need to realize that they themselves, who have the history of fighting against ISIS Khorasan within Afghanistan, even they will be facing challenges from the ISIS Khorasan side. So this is the time that even they need to extend their hand of support to Pakistan to counter all of these ISIS Khorasans and its associated groups. So this is the time that everyone needs to wake up and support Pakistan. I'm not saying that send your troops to fight against them. At least send your tech, at least send your tech related to intelligence services, so that our intelligence services, who are already capable enough, but they can further enhance their capabilities when it comes to figuring out where all of these monsters are, so that they can be busted in their hideouts.
Definitely, very rightly put. In that regards, for Pitafi, what's your views on the long-term strategies that can be adopted for regional peace? But because we're not just talking about one country, we're talking about how it's going to be a problem for the entire region, especially how the economic activities are going on, the steps being taken for regional connectivity, and of course these militant organizations, these prescribed organizations, they're not just limiting their activities to one country or one region, but they're having the evil designs for throughout the world at large.
Right, absolutely. I think that point already is made. But I wanted to actually, you said that it's not just about one country. Let us be honest about it. There's only one country that is here that needs to be mentioned here, and that is the source of all evil, and that is India. India's role in Afghanistan and the way they have actually deployed, exploited all these terrorist outfits is quite known. I mean, I keep on going back to that Shastra University speech, where Ajit Doval actually said that all terrorists are mercenaries, and you can use money 1.5 times more than your enemy to buy them, right? So, and there's something very interesting that was going on. Let me take you back to when Taliban took over and the US was withdrawing it. Remember those days? There was this facilitation from Pakistan, and everybody was praising Pakistan for helping out. And at that time, something strange happened. There was if you watched Indian channels, they were triggered because they were very angry that America is leaving. And then a suicide attack takes place, sponsored by whom? By Daesh. And that kills 13 Americans, right? And we all knew who was behind it. It was India, right? Why? Because they were so uneasy with Pakistan getting all the praise, and they had to just actually rain on the parade. And that is what happened. Daesh or ISKP particularly and TTP have this very permeable boundary wall between them. Most of the people who are now in Daesh actually left from either TTP or they were TTP affiliates. And there must be some kind of source that actually sort of keeps reconfiguring and reuniting them or reorganizing them. And this has been happening for quite some time. And similarly, India has this knack. Guardian actually published that story also, that India kept on killing Pakistanis within Pakistan. And then we know they did something in Canada. They tried to do similar thing in America. They tried to do similar things in Australia, UK, New Zealand, and whatnot. And with that, you realize that India has a problem. And then they also claim that because whatever was happening in Pakistan was done by guns for hire, Pakistani guns for hire, that was sponsored by India. So everything that is accused, Pakistan is occasionally accused of, that could also be easily, traced back to India. For example, that Trump, plot story and all, how difficult it is to radicalize or buy somebody and then send him off.
Yeah.
So all these things point to one country, excuse me, that has become the heart of darkness. And all these terror networks, actually they have this incestuous link that they keep on actually adding, subtracting and sponsoring each other. And we have to look at that. And then we have to look at what RAW, India's intelligence agency, does. Because apparently their hatred now is not only focused on Pakistan, they are now anti-Muslim all over the world, right? And anti-Sikh also, and anti-Dalit also, and God knows what else. So if you don't want to actually address that heart of darkness, it is your choice. But don't tell us in the future that consequences are not going to haunt you. And in India, regarding India also, it breaks my heart because I know so many good Indians, and I think most of Indian people are, excuse me, beautiful people, and the state keeps on doing these heinous crimes. The problem is that and Indians have taught us, there is such a thing as karma. We don't need to, use a muscle to do whatever will happen to India. But I tell you, for each Pakistani they kill, they'll lose 10 people. And we wouldn't be responsible for that because karma will get you.
Definitely, that's you've put it very brilliantly with that. The situation in the regional context, of course, and the facts that you've highlighted in this context, of course, they point towards one party in the region having hegemonic designs and trying to destabilize the entire region with that. We discussed the different aspects of the Balochistan attacks that were perpetrated and attempted by the banned prescribed outfits, and of course how the security forces of the country, they responded effectively, and how they curbed it down. And of course, in that regards, Raja Faisal, how do you comment on the situation in India and how these hegemonic designs can be curbed further?
Yeah, Rafae, if we talk about what Farrukh has just mentioned, I mean, I was amazed. He was so right about it, and I think this is the design which has been followed by India since very long. Of course, defensive offense. An offensive defense, it is termed as many times. Since the Shastra,
offensive defense is a separate thing,
and
where you actually go out of the way.
And Shastra University, the lecture which was being given by Ajit Doval, it is of course part of that. And by the way, Rafae, I wanted to of course mention something which while talking to somebody from within India, one of the journalists happens to be a good friend, and he was open about it, and he said that we were already expecting that something would happen in Pakistan. Reason being, he said, as I'm on ground and whoever I meet, I've been of course discussing the situation of Jammu, especially Jammu, whatever is going on in Jammu right now. Of course, the locals of Jammu, the freedom fighters of Jammu, they are at full swing when it comes to, of course, fighting for themselves, fighting for their freedom, and the kind of of course action they have been committing against the rogue military of India, which is the largest military presence in the world. When we talk about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, of course the presence of the Indian military is the most militarized zone of the world. And of course they are seeing the increase in the activities. Reason being, they have been targeting people, they have been picking up people, they have been, of course, extrajudicially murdering them and then declaring them as being, of course, the perpetrators or the terrorists, and they were calling them names. But what I've been told by my journalist friend from India, he said that I was already expecting that something in Pakistan would happen in coming days. Reason being, the kind of people I was talking with regarding that, they already said that, oh, it will take place, don't worry, just wait for the time and you would get news. And the news coming from Pakistan at this hour, of course, it is quite important in that context as well, that India is behind it. Earlier, Farrukh rightly pointed out that people like Mubarak Hussain Patel, Kulbhushan Jadhav, I mean, he was captured. Of course, there will be others as well, as he used to come from within Iran, used to cross the border and facilitate terrorists in Pakistan at that time and got caught red-handed. There would be others as well doing the same. And right now, of course, there will be people who are facilitating Majid Brigade, and of course, these people are the people who are out there to be waiting for the money, and if somebody gives them money, they do their activities. And this is what is happening, and I think it's a serious matter and it needs to be taken care of.
Right. Allow me, if Rafae, to actually dispel a notion that might actually origin from what Faisal was saying, because of course that would essentially mean that in India's eye there is a provocation, and that's why this defensive offense. Faisal, I mean, I'm older than Faisal, and I've been in the media profession for more than a quarter of a century. So I obviously visited India. So I have more friends, of course, in Indian journalism. So, and security experts as well. I keep on communicating with them, get whatever information is there. And this Jammu situation actually piqued my interest, because you understand that Pakistan-India border is one of the heaviest manned border. And when it comes to line of control and line, active, the boundary, right? What is it called? The
line of control.
No, there is another.
Working
that
boundary.
Is a working boundary, right? So working boundary, these are heavily manned areas. So my concern has always been, how would anybody actually end up there? Because even if a small animal actually wanders into India, they actually make a story out of that. So I asked these friends, and they said that the local security, particularly the armed forces, there was an attempt to actually blame Pakistan for it during elections, because that is how BJP actually functions. We have seen it in 2019.
Yes.
But in army, there is consensus. Whatever is happening is local in nature. And of course, they have created fiction in the past of RDX that somehow can be supplied by Pakistan, nobody else. I mean, that is pure chemical science, man. You can do it anywhere.
Right.
But all those things are not linked to Pakistan. Otherwise, they would have wreaked havoc. They would have created a lot of huge situation, or they would have at least started, activating LOC's confrontation that kept on going for quite some time. So their consensus was this. This can't be linked to that. The problem seems to be something else, to forestall a possibility or some kind of thaw. I still have to wait and see whether SCO invitation will be accepted or not. But there is an effort by certain elements in India to create an environment where that cannot happen.
Definitely, for Pitafi, those are some very important points that you've highlighted. And of course, they talk about how the hegemonic designs of one are proving to be a big problem for the entire region at large, and all the others that are part of that region. Those are the different elements that we're talking about today regarding the attacks in Balochistan that were banned outfits tried to perpetrate yesterday, but the effective responses from the security forces, how they thwarted those attempts, and the important points that were highlighted by our analysts. And regarding the hegemonic designs of one particular country with their ideology, their nefarious ideology, and how it is hurting the entire region at large. I'd like to thank both of our analysts, Farrukh Pitafi, Senior Analyst, and Raja Faisal, Geopolitical Analyst, for being part of the conversation and giving us your time. With that, we'll conclude the debate for today. See you same time tomorrow. Till then, take care.